Since 2015, it's been our pleasure entertaining you. From brass commentary, controversial interviews, and sexy cave crushes, we have given you our all. We've seen other shows come and watch them go, but Inside the Cave is still here. Inside the Cave. Thought-provoking ignorance. Guaranteed.
Thought-provoking ignorance with special guests and cave crush interviews. It's time to go inside the cave.
Back in the day, back in the day, back in the day.
Take it back now, y'all.
Bring it back in time.
Let's go back in the day. Let's go back in the day with Inside the Cave.
So now let's get into this. Roland. Now, for those that don't know, me and Roland, we have, man, I'm glad I met this guy, man. Now, Roland, what's the name of your page, man? Your other page other than 3 Leaf Films?
Okay, it's called the Cleeze Report.
The Cleeze,
but, but it's at Cleeze Report. It's CLEEZE Report.
Now, that's on YouTube as well, right?
Yes, but it's under the Cleeze Report on YouTube.
Cool, sweet. Now, it's a conspiracy page, right?
Yes, all things conspiracy, but not with the typical, what they call truther twist to it. I kind of step out those boundaries and kind of give my own thought process. That's why I made those pages, because I just think a little bit different.
So would you consider yourself like a conspiracy theorist?
Yes and no. I say no because the word conspiracy theorist has a negative connotation, especially in today's society. I lean more towards, I just speak facts. I can take conspiracy out of it and still prove my point. There's enough evidence without stepping outside these, with these big, elaborate, imaginary things a lot of these conspiracy theorists say.
Okay, now the best one that I saw that you did was the Michael Jordan and his dad one. Describe that. Tell everybody about that real quick, and then I'm going to give you a conspiracy. I don't know if everybody else has one, and I want to know what you guys think about that, because I find this stuff interesting, especially with the election coming up. The Golden State Warriors and the Cavs. I think there's a conspiracy behind that. The way all that stuff played out and stuff like that. But tell us a little bit about the Michael Jordan and his dad conspiracy trail.
Before we go off the subject, I got a conspiracy too I want to put out there.
Okay.
All right.
Well, it was kind of really in my craw about this Michael Jordan thing. Now we all know he's the GOAT, whatnot. 6 championships with a year and a half break in between. He possibly could have had 8 if he would have stayed. So I got this one video that made me want to make a video about this. So it's a 2-part video I have on YouTube. And what it is I believe that Michael Jordan's dad was murdered by people that Michael Jordan owed money to. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody likes to say, well, how could he have a gambling problem if he's richer than God, this, that, and the other. But these are some very, very heavy gambling debts. And what happened is we know he retired in 93. Well, here's the conspiracy. A lot of people say he was actually secretly suspended because he had huge gambling problems and it leaked into the NBA. Now, how we know this, and it's not a conspiracy, is because in the Eastern Conference Finals with the Knicks, after Game 1, he went to Atlantic City. It got leaked to NBC, and they called him on it. Said, hey, you was gone. Instead of resting, you went gambling. Oh, well, I like to gamble. So that was the first thing. So right after that, he retires. So while he was retired, his dad got killed. Yeah. Suspiciously, he got killed in South Carolina, right on the North Carolina line. Now, the video that I'm talking about that made me make this video is a video by Frontline. Has nothing to do with conspiracies. It's not a YouTube channel. It's an actual show called Frontline on PBS. The show was called Postmortem. It was about how bad small town coroners are. So Michael Jordan's dad lands in a town with a coroner who is an elected official, has no medical background, does not do autopsies. When he was found, he got shipped 100 miles away, where the autopsy was done basically in a barn. So then 3 weeks later, they find out, once they realize they can't do nothing with this body, he actually gets cremated, because in this small town, the coroner couldn't afford to bury the man. So he's also cremated.
Damn.
Conspiracy, right? So he's watching television, and there's a news report. Michael Jordan's dad been missing for 3 weeks, and he's like, I think that's my John Doe.
Wow.
Yeah, so that kind of led me to connect the dots that says, hey, you got all this evidence of Michael Jordan and these gambling debts. We know how the mob operates. They say the mob's not in Vegas anymore.
Right.
But we know back then that gambling is mobbed up.
Yeah. And
the money that Jordan is gambling with is not a couple $100.
Right.
We're talking about here's more evidence. A guy that he used to play golf with wrote a book in '93 also, and this would lead to the full-on public investigation of Michael Jordan. I can get that book name for you guys, but he said he actually won $900,000 from Michael Jordan playing golf, and said, what's the book called? The book is called My Gambling Addiction or something like that. Like the dude was, it's called Michael and Me, Our Gambling Addiction.
Yeah.
My Cry for Help. And also ex-drug dealer or convicted drug dealer had a personal check of Michael Jordan's for $57,000. So why is Michael Jordan writing checks to drug dealers for $57,000? So it just looks crooked. Right. So that's where I came up with that video.
Hey, now, all right. So I want everybody to go to the Cleeze Report on YouTube and check out some of Roland's conspiracy videos and stuff like that. Hey, what you guys think about this conspiracy that he just said? Joe, what you think?
Oh shit! I think a lot of it is true. I mean, we all know Mike got a gambling problem, and that could be connected to his daddy's death.
That's why
I didn't know about the coroner and shit.
Yeah,
that's part crazy.
Exactly. See, I didn't know about that either.
But as far as him retiring, he retired before his daddy died, right?
No,
yes.
I thought he retired.
Yes. The first time he retired before
his dad.
I thought he retired after his pop's dad too.
I thought he retired after.
It was real close, but it's the same year. Because if you remember, and I'm a little surprised you Chicago cats don't remember this, he retired right before the 94-95 season.
Yeah.
Remember?
Well, Roland, according to Big Dog, we too busy gang banging. So we don't watch much news. But honestly, I thought that was the reason he retired, because his pops had got killed.
No, that's the reason why he went into baseball. It's because his pops got killed.
Man. Hey, but you make me look at everything different now. Shit, I might think about shit while my son did some shit this morning in the bathroom or something. That's a damn conspiracy theory, man. Some shit ain't right. Well, you know, obviously, man, with the hip hop community, the first thing I think about is Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I mean, even to this day, I still be wondering, like, what happened? You know what I mean? These two hip hop legends at the same, height of their career pass away basically months apart from each other.
No.
And I know it's been heavily documented. It's just still always that mystery, man. Behind it.
Have you heard?
Go ahead, Roland.
Have you heard of? Now this part is going a little bit deep into what they really call conspiracy. So since we going down this rabbit hole, let's touch on it. What have you heard of blood sacrifices before?
No.
The Illuminati.
Yeah. Well, let's take that.
Secret societies.
Right. Let's take the word Illuminati out of it for a second, because, like I said, it brings a connotation as soon as you hear that word, and they try to downplay it. But let's just think about this for a second. if you notice at every level, now we're not saying that people aren't already famous, but if you ever notice how they go up another level, it's always centered around someone close to them's death, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people say that Tupac was Suge Knight's blood sacrifice, and Biggie was Puffy's blood sacrifice.
Well, it didn't work out too good for Suge.
Well, now, but when Tupac died, I mean, the label was large. I mean, but there's also a negative. Look at Dame Dash. I mean, we love him for his business mind, but after he did his blood sacrifice, which was Aaliyah, his career kind of took off a little bit, and then it went in the toilet because we know what Jay-Z did to him.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of stuff that's where people lose me with that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff I don't know if I believe in. I just can't.
Well, I mean, you can paint there's dots that connect. Like I said, that's going out on the fringe because it's stuff that we actually don't know. Yeah. But there's things that you can look at that says, okay, well, when Kanye's mom died, did he not go 3-4 rungs up the ladder?
Oh man, to think that somebody would kill their mom. What'd you say?
Same thing with Jennifer Hudson, man.
I know.
Her whole family.
Yeah.
But to think that somebody will actually kill off their family for that, I just can't. It's hard for me to. Man.
Where you make your first mistake is believing that celebrities are human beings. Now, I don't mean they're aliens or nothing like that. But what I'm saying is that you have, to me, this is just my breakdown. You have a section of celebrities. It's not about being rich. Okay. It's seeking fame. Now, when you seek fame, you need affirmation. That is a huge pit in your heart that needs to be filled. There ain't enough money. There ain't enough screens. There ain't enough fans that can fill it. So every time someone gets into the industry, what makes them go further than they want to is their need for fame. Because you can, especially now, why do people sign record deals still?
Yeah.
Why would Jay-Z need to, you know what I mean? Why would he need to sign a record deal?
Right.
Once you get to a certain level, record deal should be out of it.
Right.
Why is Lil Wayne still fighting for, what is he fighting for? $30 million? You know what I mean? So it's a need to be famous, a need to have people scream your name to be in lights. And man, you don't know what these people will do to get that. So I'm not surprised when I see stuff like that happen. People don't realize Jay-Z's nephew was murdered.
Yeah, I remember that.
Frenchie Montana's boy was murdered. You know what I mean?
Thinking about too, Roland, right before you said them, the French Montanas, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely irony in that whole situation. But
that's also saying that black people can't be successful without being part of a cult, and that's why I kind of want to stay away from too. You know what I mean?
I got white names too. It's not about being in a cult. Like I said, I'm not saying that these people have a secret meeting and they get all in a circle. See, that's what the conspiracies say. What I'm saying is that it's clear evidence that media is controlled by 6 entities. 90% of the media is controlled by 6 entities, right? If we're all about the same age, go back to almost right after the birth of hip hop, right?
Yeah.
And if you notice, when you popped open your tape and you read all the names on the bottom of what label it was from, right?
Yeah.
Now, this will refresh your memory. If you seen Straight Outta Compton, it'll refresh your memory to the way the music industry works, right? What happens is if I get big enough, you'll give me a label, right?
Right.
But my parent label is, so Ruthless was owned by Interscope.
Right.
But Interscope is owned by such and such, which is owned by such and such, which is owned by Sony.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And everybody knows that Sony is the devil, and Sony got a lot of bodies on it. So yeah, go ahead, Roland. I know what you're saying.
But They're all wicked. People still don't realize that Disney owns ESPN.
Yeah.
So that's why you have such a liberal spin to the sporting that is reported on ESPN, because it's owned by Disney.
Right.
Fox News is controlled by C Corp. So all this stuff spiders somewhere. So there's always somebody. So when you start talking about 1, 2, 5 people controlling something, that's not a conspiracy.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All the people that's on the show today, how many people live in your house? For the men in the house, for the men on here, if you're the husband, you're the leader of the house, right? So everything goes through you. Hey, listen, we're manly men. I'm not saying that you don't let your wife have a say. I'm not saying that your wife probably don't even control a whole bunch of it, at least in her mind. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with the dad, right? So the dad has influence over everybody who leaves the house. It's the same way. It's a building of cards. So the person at the top always controls the things that go down to the bottom. That's why in 2016 we have no conscious music whatsoever in mainstream music, because they don't want it. And please don't give me Kendrick Lamar. Don't give me.
You gotta think about it, Roland. Half of the time we don't want it.
Well, because we've been trained not to want it. Listen, people are sheep, black or white, it doesn't matter. We go where we're led. And if we have a bad leader, we'll follow. And if you have no one speaking out, we'll get led right to the slaughter. And right now, because of the way the system is set up, because of the way families are set up, we're not standing and leading our families anywhere. So the television, the radio, all control. Now, if you want to call that a conspiracy, I call it fact. That's why I say I don't like saying conspiracy, because there's dots that can all be connected back to the source, if that makes sense.
You can't dispute that everything starts from the top and it trickles down. But as far as when you start talking about the blood sacrifice and all the other crap, you kind of lose me there.
Oh no, I prefaced my comment with that's definitely fringe thinking. But we kind of went down that rabbit hole, so I touched on it. But I'm not too firm on that. Is it?
I would probably say mentally, when somebody lose somebody close to them, they'll probably elevate themselves and try to do something in that person's memory. But saying that you're actually going to sacrifice somebody you love for fame I don't know about that one.
Okay, that's a good point. So let's visit that one. Okay, so you saying that if I lose somebody, I ratchet my skills up, I put myself more into my music or my craft or whatever, and I'm almost doing it for that person. Okay, I got you. I feel you. Here's my only problem with that. And like I said, I'm not totally 100% saying that that's what's going on. I'm saying that's what's being said. But let's deal with the whole, I put myself into my work. Okay. The reason why that's a little unlikely is because how far you go up the ladder is not determined by you or your skill set. That's proof as well. That's why Fetty Wap could have 5 hit songs one summer, and now you couldn't pick him out of a lineup if he committed a crime.
Yeah, but you got to think about it. Like right now, with most of the hip hop guys, they really don't have that lyrical skill set. So coming out with one good party song is really not that hard to do.
He had
all the old heads. Yeah, but like now, you don't, like you said, you don't hear from him.
Because they're done with them. Because they're done. The industry is done with them. They elevate you and they sit you down.
Now you don't love in hip hop.
Yeah, and that's a joke.
Yeah.
And that's an absolute joke.
Yeah, once you go there, that's about. Go ahead, Cuz.
That's it.
Hanging out with Ray J.
Right.
Hey, Cuz, go ahead,
I got
man.
a quick question for you, bro.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Now I got a question about. I don't know if it's just me. Once I got put on to like a lot of stuff that you're saying, I started looking for like imagery and like music videos. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that see this, where you always see the pyramid, you always see the single eye, you always see the triangle, you always see a lot of imagery, especially in Kendrick Lamar album, where he was kind of like floating, even that, hovering above, everybody on the street. That was some, other type of stuff too. But what are your thoughts on that? Who's do you think they're involved with that, or you think it's the major record label that's putting all this out there, being creative and entering all this stuff in the video? What's your take on that?
Well, my thing is I have a firm belief in the imagery. They're definitely putting something out there. You have ASAP Rocky in one of his videos. He has the 5-pointed pentagram, which is definitely attached to the occult in a video with the candles and all that. So I think that it could be more subconscious, and then you have people who direct the videos. A lot of times the artist really doesn't have a say in how the video is going to go. So like I said, I think it's more of an industry thing, and I don't think there's some secret meeting that they're all getting together behind closed doors like some of the political figures have been said to do. But there's definitely if I could say, there's a spirit over music that has them kind of channeling these spirits. To kind of, if I put my hand over my eye, that gives me a certain type of power. It taps me into the eye of Horus. I mean, there's no secret on what that means. They say the pineal gland in your brain, which releases serotonin, is also a way to tap into your higher self. You're talking about chakras and energy and things of that sort.
Brother, you losing me, man. wait a minute.
Hold on. To me, man, it all sounds like mind manipulation. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you scaring me, man.
You get somebody to listen. You know what I'm saying? You get somebody to listen, and they start paying attention. Then they start to buy into whatever bullshit they put.
All I know is it sound like,
just
man.
What it is.
Whoa.
Hey,
But as far as all that conspiracy shit, man, I don't believe none of that shit.
Boy, bro, you
don't believe in
like this. Look, check this out. It's like with the way the kids dress today.
Even down to
It just happened.
talking about ghosts and shit like that. I don't believe none of that shit, bro.
like I'm saying, like with the way the kids dress today, that stuff didn't just happen. That's like a European thing. They what they do is go and take all the shit and throw it on the shelves. That's what they got to choose from. And they see everybody wearing it, so that's what they gonna wear. Just like we want
that shit come from single mothers and the deadbeat ass dad and the son playing in the mama's clothes. Then all of a sudden,
okay, well, go in the stores, dog. You go in the stores and see what you got to pick from.
I mean, yeah, now.
Big dog. Let's say, okay, I'm feeling you. All right, let's not go spooky ghost on.
Yeah,
you,
please
right?
don't, please.
but you have to admit, you have to admit that there's an energy in the universe that if you put out positive stuff come back, right?
I agree with that.
Okay, cool. All right. So what happens is right now that over music, there's a negative energy being put out.
I agree with that.
Okay, so what happens is that negative energy controls and manipulates the listener into doing certain behavior.
Okay, now let me stop you right there for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing it in the movie industry for the longest.
Okay.
But now, since the younger black generation has kind of caught on to the marketing skill and they make a little more money, now it's like, okay, all the music is negative. But there's a hell of a lot more killings going on in these fucking movies, and there's no light being shed on that. You know what I'm saying? There's no.
It's all tied together, big dog. Ain't nobody trying to exclude it. We're not trying.
It's a double standard, though.
I don't think so.
Based on the music versus the movies.
No, we've been, at least on my page, we talk about the movies too. I mean,
on your page, but what I'm saying as a whole.
And your page again is what? The Cleeze Report, right? On YouTube, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
CLEEZE.
All right, go ahead.
It's like it's a double standard on hip hop anyway. I mean, we want to force our own guys out at an early age when every other genre of music, they keep performing till they get tired of performing. You know, I mean, it's just a double standard on the music game, period.
I don't know. DMX just signed to Rock Nation, though, dog. That's pretty good. Ex-crackhead, 40-something years old, signed to Rock Nation. That's pretty good, bro.
I mean, my thing is this. I mean, you look at music, you look at entertainment in general, okay? And what I'm saying is that there's negativity in everything. Rob, it doesn't matter which genre, there's always going to be negativity. But what I'm saying is that we've left a time when there was at least a balance of, in the movie industry, they allowed certain movies to get out that was able to inspire creation and to uplift. Now those movies are becoming less and less. In the hip hop industry, there was artists that was allowed to speak positive and still sell records. But now that's been removed. There was in the R&B industry and the pop industry, every single form of entertainment has now been totally taken over to where 90% of it is filth, negativity, or pushing some type of homosexual agenda. That's not a conspiracy. That's 100% fact.
Yeah, but you got to think, they already controlled it. They controlled it 100% in the beginning.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you what they fucked up at. Technology. These fucking camera phones, and now people are able to see shit that's been going on behind closed doors, and you couldn't, and it's not like stuff that's going on now is something new.
Right, it's been going on since the beginning, but what I'm saying is that we see it and we still don't wake up. We're still asleep. No. Take that back. No, there's people out here recognizing it, but they still want to stay asleep.
Okay.
They don't want to know.
Okay, okay, we gotta move on, but I do want to drop a conspiracy theory on you guys and it has a lot to do with this election. Now, in 2008, it was a guy named Senator Barack Obama was going. Now, Roland, I need you here for this one, bro. I need you here for this one.
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
It was a guy named Senator Barack Obama going against Senator Hillary Clinton. Okay? Now, it was a wave of black people. We're all voting for Barack Obama.
She was Secretary of State.
No, not then, because she was Obama's Secretary of State. She was Senator then. She was Senator of New York.
New York.
Yeah.
New York.
So,
right.
So now check this out. Every black person in America was behind Barack Obama in 2008, except for one person. You know who that was? Magic Johnson. What happened in 1992? Well, 1991, Magic Johnson was diagnosed with HIV. 1992, Bill Clinton. Now, you got to remember, in the early 90s, HIV, that was a death sentence. Magic was supposed to have been dead in 92. Okay? Now, all of a sudden, Bill Clinton becomes the president. And all of a sudden now, Magic Johnson is still living. Could it be that Bill Clinton gave Magic the cure for HIV? And that's the reason why he's still here?
Hell no.
Is it me? Is it me, or is it a conspiracy, my brother?
It's definitely you.
Yeah, it's definitely you.
It's definitely.
I got a conspiracy for you. Here we go. Now, we all been on this show for a while.
Yeah.
DB take 5 months off a year, 5 to 6 months. He always telling us how close we are. We almost there. Knocking on the door. I think CB done knocked on the door and walked in.
No, whatever.
And made a deal with somebody. And now that's why he get all his time off.
Oh, whatever. Man.
Think about CB worked 2 months out of the year.
That's not true, man. You can't prove that.
You see what he was talking about earlier. You see the conversation we was having earlier in the cave, right? Talking about death and all that. What was all that death?
All right, man. Anyway, all right, that was it.
Go to that next level.
All right, check.
Like Roland said, I don't think that's a conspiracy. I think that's fact.
Yeah, whatever.
Let's go back in the day. Let's go back in the day with Inside the Cave.
You want answers?
Cleeze Report.
I want the truth.
The Cleeze Report with Roland on Inside the Cave.
You can't handle the truth.
Now here's a segment I've been waiting for, man. This is the debut of the Cleeze Report on Inside the Cave. Roland, you ready, brother? Let's get into it, man.
Man, I don't even know after what we done been through the last hour.
All right, be careful, Roland. Don't kill yourself and start over.
No. This is good. Now, Roland's getting ready to talk about conspiracy theories. I'm always interested in this. Now, he got a good one this week. Let's get into it, Roland. What we got?
Don't forget to put the aluminum foil on your head.
It's already, the cap's already on.
God damn.
Are we talking about a real person this time?
Yeah, we talking about a real person.
Don't let Big Dog shake you, Big Roland. Go ahead.
So we talking about the death of Michael Jackson. So why did Michael Jackson die? Was his death planned or was it an accident? So I believe that Michael Jackson was killed on purpose. And I have a reason and a trail of breadcrumbs that take us from the beginning of why he was killed. See,
a trail of breadcrumbs.
Said you killing me.
Okay, man.
I know, man. Don't let him shake you, man. Don't let him shake you. You do your thing.
So, back in 1985, Michael Jackson purchased the Beatles catalog, the publishing rights to the Beatles catalog. And throughout the times, as we know, the people in the head execs like to control their artists. So every time Michael Jackson stepped out of line, he ended up with a new charge. Every time he got himself into trouble, Sony Music came to bail him out. Leads us all the way up to the point where he dies, and then Sony Music buys back the publishing rights to all the music, including his music. Sony owns all the music outright, and that's the reason why he was killed.
Now, International D, you're a big Michael Jackson fan. Do you agree that Sony Music killed Michael Jackson?
No, I don't believe Sony Music killed Michael Jackson. I can't sign off on that one. I get where you're going with it and everything, and actually, I'm more of a Prince fan, and you know what? I'll go with conspiracy over that one than over Michael Jackson.
Roland, do you have a conspiracy on Prince?
Yeah, same thing.
Damn, that's what I thought.
Yeah, same thing. Jay-Z dropped the line in.
That's what I was gonna say. I thought that Jay-Z probably had something to do with that. It's kind of funny.
He dropped a little line in I Got the Keys, talking about the masters is safe or whatever he said. Man, nah, man.
Yeah.
These publishing, these record execs, they don't play that. For the longest time, artists like James Brown had to fight. That's one of the main reasons why Ray Charles was killed, because he owned all his masters.
Exactly.
And they don't play that, man. So
exactly.
And the thing about these record execs, man, they live for damn near forever, and they're very, very, very patient.
Preach on that, brother. Preach on that.
And listen, if y'all want to take the conversation serious, man, I could peel back the layers. I got dates. I got links. We can put the links in the show notes to every single step since '85 to where Michael Jackson, every time he tried to act out, spoke out, he got spanked for it. And then he got himself into some financial trouble. Sony comes in, writes a check. They come out with music after these catalogs, and when they found out that Michael wasn't making any more hits, they came. Their last big album release was the Thriller 2000, the 25th anniversary. And they had a whole bunch of number one hits on there, and that was pretty much it. He was done. He was already marked for death right there.
Now, Big Dog. Now, I agree with everything Roland's saying on this. Big Dog, what you think about this?
Man, I ain't co-signing none of
that.
Come
on, Big Dog. Come on, Big Dog. You know, now this is for real.
I don't know a motherfucking thing.
That ain't co-signing none of this.
Nah. Okay, Roland, give us 3 dates. Prove it to us. I agree. I remember this shit vividly.
All right. Okay, so 1991, the black and white, the movies came out. Remember, he had the big, giant 9 shorts, all all released on multicast and all of that.
Yeah.
Well, the last segment of that was the whole controversy where Michael Jackson did all the dances with the panther. He turned from a panther into himself and was crashing stuff and crashing the windows.
It debuted right before A Living Color. I remember this.
Right, grabbing his crotch and all of that.
Yep.
Well, in 2000, so that is supposedly, no proof on this, but that was supposedly him acting out against the industry, right? Mm-hmm. So then he comes back in 1992, sits on the couch with Oprah, tells everybody he has vitiligo. But the big part of that was he revealed that his father had been abusing him since he was a kid. Yeah. So then the next year, they have that child molestation charge. Get his ass in control. So he got back in line, and they rewarded him by allowing him to marry Marie Presley.
Yes.
So what they was trying to do is
these are facts, brother. These are facts.
I also got a conspiracy that ties into like when they merged Jay-Z and Beyonce together. How you get both fan bases.
Hold on, wait. Just stay with Michael Jackson. Don't give him too much. It's too fast. Just stay with Michael Jackson.
So what they was trying to do in the early stages is bring these two power, not her because she was a terrible artist, but her family. She's Elvis Presley's daughter. So that family and with Michael Jackson, boom, they making history. So 1995, well, that don't mean nothing. 1997, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for Michael Jackson. 2001, they released the Invincible album.
Yeah. Now that's when Michael Jackson went out and called Tommy Mottola the devil. I remember that.
Can I get there? You too early.
Okay, my fault.
Yeah, let me get there. Let
let somebody else talk.
So the Invincible album was horrible. They spent $30 million.
It wasn't horrible though.
But I'm saying, the critics didn't like it though. They spent $30 million to make it, spent another $25 million to promote it.
How did it cost $30 million to make that album when he had Teddy Riley and R. Kelly them living with him? That doesn't make sense.
Because what happens is in the music industry, all of that stuff is charged back to the studio.
That's bullshit.
So they're gonna make their money regardless. So then,
he made $30 million worth of music.
That's bullshit. That's crazy.
No.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
No. Listen.
But you said it though.
No. The studio spent.
How did it cost $30 million when Teddy Riley was staying with him? He didn't even let Teddy Riley.
He had a studio in his house.
That's what I'm saying. So why did it cost $30 million? That's crazy.
Because the studio. Okay, now we got to go to the
Floetry wasn't even popping back then. He discovered Floetry and they created that one song for him.
We're gonna have to go to Music Industry 101. Okay, listen. Anytime an artist is signed to a record label, everything that they do is charged to the artist.
Even when he had his own crib. That's crazy.
Doesn't matter. He still gets charged. It don't matter if he got a studio on his bus. If he's over in Europe, he's still getting charged. Sony is charging him to record. That's what they do. So if you get a $20 million upfront signing bonus, that's actually a loan. That's not your money. That's money.
Yeah, we know that. We get that part. How it don't make no. Ain't no way. I got a studio in my house now. I can see them charging time for it. They have to have an engineer there and some other stuff. But ain't nobody done did $30 million and nothing in no goddamn studio.
Well, no. It's not just the recording time. They got other expenditures in there as well. But the point is that this is being reported by them. I'm not making the figure up. It's just they say it cost $30 million, and then they spent another $25 million to promote it.
I need to see some receipts.
So now let's get to 2002, where Michael Jackson went before Al Sharpton's National Action Network in New York event. He called Tommy, like CB said, he called Tommy Mottola the devil. He said that record companies only they're against black artists. They said all artists, but especially black artists. Like I said, I got the links for you if y'all want to check it out. We'll put them in the show notes. So 2002, he claims at another event that he only has to give Sony one more box set. Now, keep in mind, like I told you, he bought the Beatles catalog. He didn't buy it himself. He bought it together with Sony. So him and Sony are essentially business partners, right? So what he said is that he's leaving as a free agent, and he owns half of Sony.
That same thing happened to Tupac.
Right. He did not lie. He was telling the truth. He didn't own literally half of Sony. He owned what they call the ATV division of Sony, which owned the Beatles rights.
All right.
Like I said, to the publishing.
Why you looking over your shoulder? You think somebody finna whack you for this?
All right, Roland.
Looked over his shoulder like, I'm talking too much.
I don't want to lose Big Dog. So now Big Dog,
hold on, Big Dog. Listen, Big Dog. I'm stating actual facts. This is stuff.
Big Dog, you can't deny those facts, though, Big Dog. So now tell me why you think Michael Jackson died.
Big Dog tapped out.
I can't even hear him.
He put y'all ass on mute.
But I ain't co-signing that bullshit. I can tell you that.
All right, check this out, Roland. That is one. Let me tell you something, brother. You laid down the facts. If anybody got something they don't understand, you laid down your case. You made your case. I agree with 100%. There's always something fishy about the way Michael Jackson died.
I'm gonna say this. Conspiracy theory to me is just like a motherfucker taking sound bites to give you part of a story.
But he's not giving you part of the story. He laid down the facts. This is true, bro. You never thought it was anything suspicious about the way Michael Jackson died, bro?
CB, you can get two people to debate the Bible, and each one of them can take the same passage and twist it.
Yeah, but the Bible's
now it's silent.
How do we get?
Exactly.
Yeah,
how do we get there?
The Bible's not even real. We don't even know if the Bible's real, bro.
Now, I'm just using it for an example.
But this is something we saw.
I'm saying you can take the same facts.
But this is, you live to see this stuff with Michael Jackson, bro.
All we saw is what they allowed us to see.
Basically.
Okay, but hold, time out. Let's. I know we crunch for time, but listen. This is what killed me about you, Big Dog.
Yeah, tell him, Roland. Tell him.
You'll say a statement that sounds fucking like a conspiracy to deny this conspiracy. You just said that's what they showed us. Exactly. So you're saying that even when they show us something that it's possible that it can't be true.
Tell him about it.
I know you ain't gonna let him talk to you like that, dog.
Tell him, Roland.
Hey man, it's like this. That shit sounds just like these new kids on this fucking social media believing everything they see.
Oh man.
But that just proves the point I'm trying to make. Exactly, everything is a facade. All I'm saying is that in this particular case, because it spans so much time, what they do is, and they said was teasing me, they leave breadcrumbs. And what you do is that you pick up the breadcrumbs and you follow the trail. They don't have the expectation of you to figure it out. They do stuff over time.
Don't pick up the breadcrumbs and eat them.
Every single time he stepped out of line, he got charged with something. Or his finances got messed up. In 2003, he got charged with 7 counts of child sexual abuse.
I agree.
And corruption of a minor. They got his ass together. They see his one of his homes on the Neverland Ranch was going to get foreclosed. He agrees to a financial deal with Sony. Right back to being beholden to Sony.
All right.
Then in 2000, go ahead, Big Dog. Go ahead, my bad.
Hey, CB, I want you to edit this out.
What?
I want you to edit this out now.
Okay.
You fucked out.
I can take your work history at GM.
Oh, here we go.
In your eyes, you take off because you handle the business and you taking care of your family and you tell your story, right?
Yeah.
But to a motherfucker don't know you, they'll say, CB ain't worth a shit. The motherfucker don't come to work. How the hell he taking care of his family?
All I'm gonna say is this.
No matter how you twist them goddamn facts around, bro, I'm not trying to hear it.
Hold on, it twisting facts?
No, don't worry.
You got any comments on that?
Nah, fuck you. That's what I got to say about that. Check this out. We got to move on. I want everybody to email us insidethecavepodcast@gmail.com or however you else been giving me your feedback. Let me know what you think about the death of Michael Jackson. Don't pay no attention to Big Dog and said Roland laid down the facts. I really want to know what you think. Roland will be back in a couple weeks. We're going to have another conspiracy theory, and I know what he's going to talk about. It's going to be a good one, all right? We'll be right back with more Inside the Cave.
Let's go back in the day. Let's go back in the day with Inside the Cave.
You can't handle the truth.
This is going to be a good one. Now, for those that don't know, by the time this show is uploaded, Barack Obama will be walking out of office, and Donald Trump will be taking over. So, Roland, what are we talking about today on the Cleeze Report? This presidential Cleeze Report you said you have for us.
Well, I think it was Joe Dirt said last week about Pence and Donald Trump. I guess there was I don't know if y'all did like an over or under or anything like that, but he said that Trump will not make it his 4 years. I believe, Joe, you said that he won't make it 4 years?
Yeah, I said that.
Okay, so just like Trump being out and Pence being in, there's a slight little conspiracy with the assassination attempt with Ronald Reagan.
Now, we gotta remember, we got a lot of dumb people that listen. Yes, I want to tell everybody who Ronald Reagan was. You want to tell everybody who Ronald Reagan was?
Okay. Ronald.
Well, you didn't think you wanted to do all that, did you?
Man, I know
all our listeners dumb. Ronald Reagan was the 40th president, I believe. 41st, 41, I think. He was the 41st president of America. All right, go ahead, Roland.
Right, and he was also a famous, well, I guess back then maybe not as famous, but famous actor. So he was an actor, sort of like Trump, being a business person, not a true politician. End up being elected. He actually beat out the incumbent, which was Jimmy Carter at the time. Jimmy Carter had some issues.
Illegally too. I know this is
some scandals.
I know this is just Roland, but he actually beat Jimmy Carter out illegally, in my opinion. Do your research on how he won that. I got a conspiracy on that too. I'm sorry, Roland, but I get caught up into this stuff. Go ahead, bro.
No, you good. Okay, so this is back in 1980. So you have to probably be right around 40 years old to really remember who he was. So this might be for our older listeners. But anyway, point being is that back in 1980, he was elected president. In 81, you know how they, just like this year, you win the previous year, then you come in and get sworn in. His vice president was George H. Bush, which is what we've named him Daddy Bush, because there was a son and a father. So
he's real sick right now. He's in the hospital right now. Go ahead.
Okay, so the day that he was sworn in as the 40th president, there was 52 hostages, right, and they had been held for 444 days.
Right.
The day he was put in, they released the hostages. Right.
Right.
So that 90 something days later, 69 days later, they tried to kill him. Okay, so the conspiracy is, why did they try to kill him?
Yeah.
They wanted to get Bush in office because Reagan was not allowing the Rothschild family to operate their banks the way they wanted to. So when Reagan survived, he got in line, and that's when he announced that Alan Greenspan would be over Social Security. 2 years later, he put him over the Federal Reserve. If anybody knows any research on the Federal Reserve is a privately owned business that is not part of the government. They do not answer to the government. And that's when they started to bilk the country for billions of dollars. And if you do a little research and you look at the relationship between Alan Greenspan and Ronald Reagan, you see he fell in line, and they didn't need George Bush to kind of push that agenda through the Rothschilds.
That's my conspiracy.
Brother, I can talk about this for the next 30 minutes, but these guys don't like to hear me talk. So I'm going to pass it around to the rest of the guys and see what they think in relation to Donald Trump. But I'm telling you, son, Roland, we are going to elaborate more on this later. I got some stuff to talk about with this. Big Dog, what you think about that, man?
We'll pass on this one.
Hey, so Roland, just want to let you know that means you won.
You can't speak for me.
That means you won. If you set the dog up, that means you won. Joe Dirt, what you think, bro?
I really don't care for Ronald Reagan. If he's alive, I'll tell him to kill himself and start over.
But let's see. Okay, go ahead. I'll keep my comments. Kat, what you think?
I definitely agree that, with the whole Ronald Reagan conspiracy, like I definitely can see how that would be plausible, and I also can see how this is plausible. This whole, we know Trump can't be for real. Like, we know he's not for real,
right?
And we're trying very hard to maintain a semblance of respect for the process, because it's the process that we are manipulating, depending on which side you're on, to try to make it to your advantage. Our country has been built on greed and people saying, hey, I want to keep all this, and they don't, those people don't really understand why everybody wants to share shit here. They don't understand why anybody would want to give everybody health care. That makes no sense. Like, there are a lot of people who, while we, who were brought here, or us who immigrated here, we're looking at this place as a land that is fair. Realistically, we know it is not fair. So we all know that Trump being there is a machine for something. He is there to do something, whether it is to distract us, to discredit our.
That is a great point, Kat. That is a great point.
And I think we should be not only receptive to theories, what people think, but we should also be understanding to everybody's on both sides. Like today, I feel like everybody should have health care. But, I fuck around and hit the lotto or something. Now I'm in a different bracket. I see things differently. So I don't want to speak for the other side, but I do, agree with you that there is something. We know this can't be for real. This man didn't, I had to go to school. I still got to go to school to do my profession. Like, there is no, my education doesn't stop. I never become a pro or a master at anything. I have to continually learn to grow. And this individual who hasn't even exhibited tremendous aptitude in what he does, he's a horrible businessman. I mean, he owes a lot of money, but he got.
I can agree with that.
I don't know how this dude continues to be relevant. I really can't understand.
Because he's rich, he's wealthy and powerful. That's why. And
that's 4% of America. He's covering. He's the face of the white people we haven't seen in a while.
That's like Reagan was. Reagan was Trump before Trump.
Yes, he was.
Our children don't recognize what Trump is because they've never seen that white face before. All the white faces they've seen have been a little bit more open and willing to share and willing to look at our nation as someplace where we all can benefit. But they haven't. We got to see Reagan. So we got to see, what was it, the Contra and all of that, like selling, getting money from Iran to give to Cuba to buy arms. Like, it was a lot of drama going on. And so, I do want to encourage people, because we've lived through this before. We've lived through horrible times. We've lived through,
Yeah, I want to, Vella, birthday boy, you got something on this?
I thought about doing like dog and going for the pass and try to get a triple double, but it's like to me is like they said they had an agenda at that moment. So if you were sending an 18-year-old kid to go fight in your war, why would you have any problem killing this old ass man when they probably thinking shit, he's gonna be dead in a minute anyway? Let's do what's gonna benefit us for these next 4 years, possibly 8.
Yeah.
So I don't put it past them as far as that conspiracy.
Look alive, people, because Pence is going to, if God forbid, unless Trump and Pence are on a plane together and it goes down, Pence is coming from Indiana. And Indiana, if we can, be factual, is the headquarters for the KKK. This is not an individual who is not exhibited in any way a sexist, misogynic, like he's been very staunch on abortion. He's been very staunch on same-sex marriage. He has been very clear in his own state how he behaves. So look alive, because
I think I can elaborate a lot more on this, but I'm just going to make it real quick because we got to move on. And I'll let Roland have the last word. Let me say this, though. Roland, you're 100% right. And Big Joe, you were right last week that Pence is the guy that's going to be. If you look at most Republican presidents, the last, except for Dan Quayle, but the ones in my lifetime, it's always been the vice president who was running stuff. Who was Bush's vice president? 40-3. What's the guy? Who?
Which one? The father or the son?
Son. What was his? I forget.
Are you talking about Cheney?
Cheney. He was the one running things, and he was the reason why we got into Iraq and stuff like that. Same thing with Reagan, HW. But so I agree everything with what Roland said, and the thing is, the way that here the other conspiracy inside the conspiracy that Roland brought up is the fact that Reagan campaigned on getting those prisoners released. I watched this shit on CNN. He campaigned on getting those prisoners released. Now, explain to me how you can campaign on getting prisoners released when you're not even in government at the time, right? Was he governor of LA? I mean, of California when he was running? I don't think so.
He was in politics.
But he was
some type of political position.
I know, but but he wasn't like a senator or a congressman or anything like that. So my thing is how were you able to manipulate? You talking about manipulation? How were you able to manipulate and say that when I become president, those prisoners will be released, but the president of the United States can't get them released, but all of a sudden you get in office and the prisoners get released during your inauguration? Doesn't that sound like a guy that's running for president right now and that's taking credit for all the jobs that's coming to America in December and in January? And he doesn't take office until the end of January, but he's taking credit for jobs that's being created in November, December, and January. I mean, it's a big correlation.
You don't have to worry about that because Trump's America, and I'm not in any way trying to be racist or mean to people, but most of the people, they aren't very educated. They're the ones screaming, we can't get into college because all the black women are there. So they're not educated enough to do the job. They don't have. I wouldn't worry about it.
I'm not worried
about it because it'll backfire. It's gonna eat itself.
Well,
it's already showing it now.
It is.
People starting to see that they ain't got damn health care no more, and they want to blame Trump.
They'll get some more health care. It'll be called Trump Care, but it'll be the same Affordable Care Act. They just want to change the name. They don't want to have any black man in the history book as somebody who made health care affordable in the United States.
The Obamacare was originally by who was the guy he was running against?
Romney.
It was actually Romney who came up with that policy.
And you know what? Here's the crazy part. Let me say something about Obamacare real quick.
But they're probably just gonna implement that what's this called? That universal health care.
Universal health.
Isn't that what Obama was trying to get originally?
But yeah, exactly, big dog. See, everybody is complaining, talking about how Republicans are talking about how expensive this health care is, and that it's a tax. You want to know who made it a tax? The Supreme Court. Chief Justice Roberts, a Republican. They passed it through after the bill that passed through. It went to the Supreme Court, and a Republican made it a tax. Obama didn't make it a tax.
They couldn't eat off of it at the time.
Exactly.
They were eat off of it. It's all about money.
So everybody that's pissed off about it, you're pissed off at yourself. But let me give this real quick, and I'm gonna let Roland have the last word. Here's my rundown of Trump's presidency. He is going to come in with low approval ratings like he does have right now, and then there will be some type of terror attack on the United States. Yes, there will have to be some type of terror attack. I'm talking about a major terror attack. Because in order for you to be able to move a policy forward, someone has to die. Martin Luther King, we would not be free as what we are right now if Martin Luther King didn't die. That's the way things work. The same thing with 9/11. That's the reason why we were able to go in to the Middle East, because we had a terrorist attack here. We will have a terrorist attack. Then America will finally come together and rally around President Trump. And that's how he will move his policies forward. Yes.
Whatever.
That is going to happen.
Put that bullshit in there.
Hey, it's going to happen, brother. That's the way Republicans work. That's the way
it's a plausible line of thought, though, because that's exactly what happened with George Bush.
Hey, who said that? Sounds like a genius.
Because soon as 9/11 happened, what did Bush do? He went to war, and how everyone says, they don't want to go to war. Every single president has went to war. Mm-hmm. Over the last 6 or 7 presidents have been at war.
And remember, Roland, didn't nobody like Bush because of the way he cheated his way into the election, in Florida, where he cheated Florida. Then all of a sudden you have 9/11 happen, and everybody rallied around the president.
Absolutely, because that's exactly. Now I will give CB that the conspiracy lies in a country that's divided.
Yes,
comes together in terror, meaning when something huge happened. Because if you want to go back far enough, we weren't alive, but if you go all the way back to Pearl Harbor, they were saying that Pearl Harbor was a false flag.
Yeah,
that we really didn't get attacked, that we did that.
Yeah.
In order to be able to go to war. They do it all the time.
Right.
If you research the word false flag, you will understand that a false flag is when you attack somebody under the guise that you're somebody else in order to get a desired result. So CB's not really that off on that. That is a plausible, but I like Joe Dirk's original thought process of why I brought it up is about the vice president, the Pence dude. I did not know what Kat was saying. I wasn't familiar with his policies and all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But he's definitely the more politician, the more polished guy.
Yeah.
And I can see a world where some kind of way they get it, because his hands are too dirty. It's not going to be some murder thing or anything like that. It's going to be some kind of way, kind of like Bill Clinton got hung up. But it's going to be more swift, and it's going to have something to do with money. It's going to be something to do, because right now, the big thing is about these planes. See, because a president can't benefit from any financial gain outside of the presidency. So he can't sell those planes now that he's president. Yeah. He's stuck with them. He can't fly them. He can't charter them. He can't make money off these planes. But that's not the only thing. He has many of these situations where if he sets a policy for fair trade and his company is involved, he's going to make money. So he can manipulate government to make money for himself. So some kind of way he's probably going to get impeached in his 3rd year. Pence is going to be in that last year, maybe year and a half, and then Pence is going to run that so-called second term that he would be running, and Pence is going to win.
Good point.
Let's go back in the day. Let's go back in the day with Inside the Cave.
In line with February and it being Black History Month, I'm gonna hit y'all with a little bit of conspiracy on Martin Luther King Jr. A lot of people say that the conspiracy is that the government had him killed or whatever, blah, 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 whatever. But who were the conspirators that told the government where he was at? So 30 years later, after the assassination, there's a guy who was on the balcony with him, and his name was...
Is it Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle's. Okay, so you down.
Roland. He's been in my crib. No,
shut up.
I'm not, no lie. He's been in my crib and preached at my church. He's good friends of my wife's uncle. I'm gonna edit that out.
You gotta look this up, fam.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
It's deep.
All right, so look,
I know him personally. I've been to his church in Memphis and everything.
So, in 1968, April 3rd.
Roland, you starting some shit, man. I'm gonna leave while you talk about this.
Martin Luther King preached his "I've Been to the Mountaintop" speech. I think a lot of stuff that's getting missing in this speech was, or his preaching speech, however you want to word it, is he was talking about economic boycotting. Now, you seen I just was snapping about economics a little earlier. So King was starting to really, I mean, don't get me wrong, he got his start on the bus boycott, but he was really talking about how all the government subsidies that white farmers get, not the farm. And he was talking about, you know, how can a man pull himself up by his own bootstraps when, you know, you're helping these guys over here, but you're not helping us, so on and so forth. So at the Lorraine in Memphis on the 4th is when he got killed. So this is what Kyle said, recorded on, this ain't no rumor. This is what he said out his mouth. Okay. He said, and I quote, "At 5:45, we walked onto the balcony and he was talking to the people in the courtyard. He stood here and I stood there." At the time, he's putting up 2 fingers. "Only as I moved away so he could have a clean shot, the shot rang out."
Oh.
Dun, 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 dun.
Roland, this man was in the same choir.
I'm gone.
Roland, do you know? Let me tell you something. This man is like very close to me. Very close. This man was in the same choir with my grandfather. Him and my grandfather, they sang in the same choir together when he was in Chicago. My grandfather since moved to LA. And you know, Kyle ended up going to Memphis. I've been to Kyle's church. In 2011, my mother-in-law had a dinner at her house, and my mother-in-law's brother brought Kyle to the house. He sat there, we all ate dinner with him. He told kind of the same story. Then the next day he preached at our church. Like, he's like very, very close to us. Very close.
Dun, dun, dun.
So when you saying this stuff, like, I mean, I met this man, talk with him. You know what I'm saying? Walked him to his car. Like,
did he tell you what happened to Martin Luther King, man?
Well, won't you ask him about that quote? What he meant by that?
You better not walk too close to his car next time.
Hey, I seen the video, bro. I seen the video of him saying this, and me and my mom actually watched it together, and we both looked at each other like, what the?
And did you hear the crowd reaction?
Yeah.
Like, everybody caught it immediately. Like, it was a Freudian slip. Like, damn, did he just say that?
Damn.
Yeah, man.
Because this is the same way Malcolm X was killed, by somebody who infiltrated the Brotherhood. Is they had undercover cops in the Audubon Theater, and just, you know, similar. It wasn't just like, of course, Spike Lee had creative license, but it happened similar to the way it did in the movie, where they caused a diversion. There was some black men who caused a diversion, and that's when they ran up and shot him.
Brother, now you guys, all listeners, now you know why we only have Roland on once a month.
See me over there sweat. If y'all can see his face,
you gonna get a whole bunch
nervous.
after this one.
We might
he ain't gonna be able to sleep tonight, Joe.
Hell nah.
We might have to push Roland back once a quarter.
God damn.
Hey, Valley, we might have to disassociate ourselves with Roland.
Hey, he gonna have me scared to take this garbage out tonight now. Shit. My last name King. Now he affiliated with this shit.
But the thing about it is, he ain't lying though. Like, this is stuff that's documented. Roland, can you put something like this on InsideTheCaveBlog.com for our listeners to be able to check out?
Yes, sir.
Or go to your YouTube page, or we can have it linked up. This dude is not lying. This is facts. You can look. We'll have the video up so you can go see it. You got the video where he said this?
Yeah, I got it. I have it.
Crazy,
yeah,
man.
Put that up so I can share that.
CB already paranoid. He don't need this.
Hey, Mel, you think you know me, huh?
But what's crazy is, but listen though, what's real deep though is that you had seen it before we just talked about it. Because CB don't always know what I'm bringing. He kind of just give me, hey, bring something dope. That was actually something that I pulled out late, in the 14th hour. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go this route because the other route, the research wasn't lining up. But you and your mom watched that and y'all had the same reaction. And that's what I'm saying. I don't understand how come this isn't being spoke about more. And like I said, we talk about King as we either talk about him in two lights. He was this great person who who was nonviolent, or people who was hating on him said, oh, well, he smoked cigarettes and he had babies out of wedlock. Nobody likes. Go ahead.
Now here's the thing. Without Martin Luther King dying, there wouldn't be the world like we are now. If he was alive, we'll still be fighting the struggle. We're still fighting the struggle technically now, but what I'm saying is
it's different.
It's different. And someone had to die for that to happen. You know what I mean?
All the great leaders die. I mean, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the transformation directly happened, because you still got to go another 10 years. I mean, you got to go through black exploitation. You got to go through the 70s. I mean, basically, to me, we really don't get out of Jim Crow until late 70s. You got to remember that Stokely Carmichael and the Black Panthers were still fighting that fight, dude, in LA in 76, 78, 79 when they was murdered. So I disagree, bro. I mean, he died in 68.
Yeah.
You still was going through the struggle in the 70s, man. People's timelines, we have revisionist history.
But he signed. But okay, what I'm trying to say is the bill got signed shortly after he died, right?
Dude, them bills don't mean shit.
But what I'm saying is, like Lincoln, he freed the slaves and he got killed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the slaves weren't free. But that's a great example.
I understand what you're saying, but on paper, this is what happened. So what I'm saying is, eventually, if it's on paper, it's going to get kicked down the road. It's the same thing with Obamacare. Obamacare technically was started in 2010. It didn't really get in motion to 2014, 15. People didn't see that's just the kind of way that these things happen. So I know what you're trying to say, but without him dying or being murdered or set up or however you want to look at it, nothing wouldn't have happened without that happening first.
Well, here's the thing about the setup where you just alluded to, is that every single civil rights leader had a file on them by the government. This ain't no black thing. This is all reported by white historians. So this is stories that have gotten out, got leaked. The CIA was investigating every single black activist back in those times, right? So they built a file on them. Yeah. So there's a direct correlation to the assassination of King, to the assassination of all 5 prominent Black Panthers. They were assassinated by the police via the government. This is not no secret. We just choose to ignore it. And I'm 44 years old. I was born in 72. I remember Reagan. That's why I brought that story a couple months ago. Yeah. We don't realize that in 2017, other than black people can get rich now and we have this freedom to move about, but the heartbeat of the country is still filled with white rage against black people. There's no denying this. There is no way you can tell me in a semi equal world where a Donald Trump gets elected to office. Now, I believe he was placed. But if you want to go with the whole your vote counts and all of that stuff, then that's more proof from my side to say.
All right, that's too much. That's too much for one day.
That's true, bro.
It's too much for one day, bro. Big dog.
I mean, the dude is talking about Muslims, Mexicans, black folk, what do you got to lose? Bringing back stop and frisk, building a wall, and he won the electoral vote. There's no denying that. You can't run away from that. The heartbeat of the country is split in half, 50-50. Clinton won the popular vote. He won the electoral.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers were damn near split right down the middle, 52% to 48%.
Hey.
For you guys.
Hey, what's up?
I'm joining in now. What's up?
Jump in.
Hey, Kat, tell your daughter no jumping in the house.
She jumping rope like a motherfucker. She thinks this is fun, okay?
Kat, you got an opinion on Roland's conspiracy?
Oh no, I mean, I think, I guess my only opinion to this is that we are very foolish of a people to believe that the racism that was embedded
in this country has gone away. I think that we, the Generation X kind of remembered it and tried to get us aware of what was happening. But I do agree with Roland that yes, we should be very conscious that people spoke out, and when they spoke, many of them were very fearful of brown people and people that are not of this country, they feel. And, those people that our grandparents and our grandparents' parents, like, these people haven't gone away, and I think it's, in a way, good for us to see it. I would rather know what I'm dealing with. Honestly, it did not surprise me personally that he won, because I know these people exist. But I also feel like, we as a people should let these Republicans duke it out. Like, I feel like this is a great time for us as, the disenfranchised to become franchised on our own. People are very conscious and aware. I feel, I think everybody, what Roland is doing, looking conspiracy theories up, I think is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically on an education type conversation. You want people to become
right. Yes.
But I want to know what you think about the Martin Luther King thing. We talk about Trump every day, but I want to know what you think about the Martin Luther King.
But again, to follow my point, CB, it would not make my jaw drop that he was set up to die. Like, are we seeing like this? That's not a conspiracy theory to me. No, duh. Like, I don't really understand why we're questioning that was foul play. Nobody walks into a bullet. Like, someone intentionally set out to murder this man, probably because he was influential. Like, usually that's how it goes. So, none of it doesn't surprise me. Who doesn't surprise me? Why doesn't surprise? None of that surprises me. What surprises me, unfortunately, is that we didn't get another king. Somebody didn't step up to the plate and say, okay, I will take his shoes. I'll feel those shoes. I feel like we wait for a leader as a people. We wait for somebody to lead us. And we do it, on Sunday we wait for the preacher, and, like we wait for someone. And I would hope that we would try to be individually influential every day and productive every day. And what we don't do sometimes is not do that. It's sad that it took him to have to die for people to recognize, like, oh, he was doing something, And what's even sadder is that no one was like, all right, I'll do what he was doing. Like,
Well, can I piggyback off of that? Well, in actuality, what's interesting about that statement is somebody did piggyback off of, somebody else did set out. The next man in line who was on the balcony days before with him was Jesse Jackson. Now that starts a whole nother conversation.
And I guess what I'm saying is it wasn't just a guy doing it. It was, now you're saying, oh, it was passed down. There was legacy. Somebody could have did it that was there. I'm talking about another young pastor somewhere.
Right. I agree with you. I'm actually agreeing with you. I'm saying guys like Jesse Jackson, the reason why he's still alive, and Al Sharpton is because those guys were set in place to pacify us. So now
Womp and womp again.
Yeah, after the 70s, they've been sent to pacifiers. So now every single black leader, every single black preacher, the TD Jakes, the Creflo Dollars, they all set the pacifiers.
Roller, you gonna? Hey, Roller, can I give you? Oh, hold on, Roller. Can I give you a conspiracy?
Yeah.
And I think this conspiracy happened to Arsenio Hall. And
yes,
you're about to do the same thing to Inside the Cave. Arsenio Hall, if you ask anybody,
brought Farrakhan on.
Yes, that's right. He had the number one night show. He brought Farrakhan on CBS. What, a couple weeks later, he was off the air.
they lost their damn minds.
Grand opening, grand closing, just like that. Roland, you have just accused Reverend Kyle of setting up Martin Luther King. You said Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton were sitting here to pacify us.
They were.
You called out Donald Trump. All this in a 15-minute segment that you do once a month. What are you trying to do to Inside the Cave? We built this for 2 years. What the hell are you trying to do to our show?
Hey, you know what I think, CB?
What?
The first time you came across Roland when he sent you that message.
What?
And he told you, he told you what he said, and you'd say, "Hey, you want a job?" I think from that day on, Roland already had a conspiracy to get our ass canceled. He was like, "These motherfuckers suck. I'm finna flip it on their ass. I'm in. My conspiracy is to let them think I'm in and get their ass cut from the air."
I agree, Roland. I think you 5-0. You ain't sipped the drink in front of me yet.
You got it. You peeped the dog.
Oh man!
You sipped the drink in front of you.
Even the dog peeped it.
Did he hit me with the deep cover line? Did he hit me with the deep cover line?
Hey, nigga. Hey, you better take a drink, or smoke, or snort right now and there.
Hold on. Oh man, y'all killing me. I'm look.
Hey, Big Dog, you got anything on Roland's conspiracy before I close this segment up? Probably for the last time ever.
I'm gonna let that one ride, bro. He said the last time ever.
Hey, but you know what, Roland? Real talk, that's some deep shit. I'm sure we're gonna have some interesting feedback on that.
I hope your mom don't listen to the show.
Sometimes she does. Yeah.
I hope the government don't listen to the show. Hey, Roland, I hope the government don't listen to the show.
Right.
Oh, you already know I'm being watched, so you can forget that. I hope y'all didn't think I wasn't being watched.
Why you ain't tell us that before we logged you in?
Hey, man. That nigga Roland doing this show from the penning room.
One thing about it. hey, Belly.
What up, dog?
If CB knew how to edit, we wouldn't have no problem.
Yeah, you know he ain't leaving nothing on the cutting room floor.
Motherfucker don't edit nothing.
Absolutely not.
Hey, what did he say is all for rates until we get one of our ass get shot, assassinated.
Well, as long as you don't stand next to Kyle, you good.
Oh man! All right, that was the Cleeze Report.
Let's go back in the day. Let's go back in the day with Inside the Cave.
I'm starting the Cleeze Report podcast, which will be a collection of myself on different views. We'll have hot takes. I will give my opinion on certain subjects. I will expand with great commentary, and then I will have a segment of weekly rants where you can hear me snap out somewhat like I do on Inside the Cave every week.
So the Cleeze Report podcast is coming very, 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 very soon.
Hey, can I get an episode on there? We call it the Sleazy Cleeze.
We might be able to work that out. Talk to my lawyers.
Sleaze and some Cleeze.
Talk to my lawyers.
Call Tiffany Simmons up, Joe. You put that together. Hey, so the Cleeze Report podcast is a lot. I'm assuming it's going to be a lot different than what he does on Inside the Cave, because a lot of times when he does the Cleeze Report on Inside the Cave, I just come up with some stuff that I found interesting, and Roland will just come on and fact check me. You get that said? Fact check me. Because he's actually does a lot of research and everything. What'd you say?
Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, so today we're talking about the 1996 NBA Finals. CB, after watching video on YouTube, and because Joe told me that the internet is always right, I am starting to believe that the 1996 NBA Finals, in which Jordan won his 4th NBA title, was fixed. And I'm coming from an emotional standpoint, and my good friend Roland has did some research. And Roland, you want to give the background on it? You want to just go ahead and shoot, and you go ahead and come in?
Yeah, go and shoot. Go shoot your load.
Pause. Take that back, please. Take that back.
I meant to say shoot.
Come on, man. Don't shoot your load.
No, hey.
I'm not about.
Yes, because you know
this has gone a different direction than I think I want to be a part of.
No, I thought it was shit.
It's just good. Okay.
I pulled a Puffy. Pause.
You know, because you know the guy that edits the show doesn't really edit that good. So
hell no.
All right, check this out. The 1996 NBA Finals is the year after Jordan made his return to basketball. Now, let me tell you guys what happened the year before. The year before, Michael Jordan showed up around March. He was wearing number 45. He looked like Michael Jordan, but wasn't quite the Michael Jordan we remember in 1993. So he came back in, and he has some good plays. But the playoffs really showed that Michael Jordan really wasn't Michael Jordan. They end up beating the Charlotte Hornets but they actually lost a couple games thanks to B.J. Armstrong we were talking about earlier. And so then they ended up winning that series, and they ended up going to the conference semifinals to play against the Orlando Magic. And for everybody who knows Michael Jordan, he does have hard. Michael Jordan can score on anybody, but the people who guarded Michael Jordan the best was Joe Dumars and people who are sort of fit like Joe Dumars. And Nick Anderson had the task of guarding Michael Jordan, and he did a pretty good job that year. You guys remember that? He did the steal on Mike when the Bulls were up in that game, and then Nick Anderson did the steal. Michael ended up coming back the next game. It's 23. They ended up winning that game, but eventually losing that series. Now, Michael Jordan and the Bulls, they came back fully loaded. Dennis Rodman, Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, Pippen, Phil Jackson, they were fully loaded. They ended up having the best record that year. But the playoffs is a different story. Now, they did end up sweeping the Orlando Magic to make up for last year, and Jordan had a hell of a series. But let's get to the NBA Finals. Now, Michael Jordan's making his comeback. And you guys know when Jordan's not in the NBA, the ratings are terrible. Yes, they had good games and stuff, but the ratings are terrible. So you need Mike to be on top. The ratings are better when Michael, Magic, and Larry are winning. And even LeBron. So what ended up happening is the Chicago Bulls went up against the Seattle Supersonics. And that was coached by North Carolina alumni George Karl. You guys know how Michael feels about other North Carolinians, right? Also on that team was Gary Payton, Hershey Hawkins, Detlef Schrempf, Sam Perkins, and Sean Kemp, and I think it was Nate McMillan, and there was another center on that team as well. But George Karl decided that he was going to play game one, put Detlef Schrempf on Michael Jordan, game one. And Michael Jordan did what he should have did. He lit Detlef Schrempf up. Not once did Gary Payton switch over and guard Michael Jordan. Not once. It wasn't until game 4 where Gary Payton, George Karl decided, I'm going to put Gary Payton on Michael Jordan. By that time, the series was over. It was 3-0. But once he put Gary Payton on Michael Jordan, and they had 2 more games in Seattle, the Bulls ended up losing. And in the first game, I believe, or game 4, it was in terrible fashion. And that's because they made that adjustment. Why didn't George Karl make that adjustment earlier? Michael Jordan has always have a hard time going against people shaped like Joe Dumars and Gary Payton and even Ron Harper before he got injured and stuff like that. Why would you put Deadlift Shrimp, of all people, and Hersey Hawkins on Michael Jordan? Eventually, the Bulls will end up winning that series, but aftermath was Gary Payton end up signing with the Jordan brand. So to me, it seems like if I was a conspiracy theorist, that series was rigged. Now, I'm not saying the Bulls would have beat the Seattle Supersonics would have beat the Bulls, but who knows if the Bulls would have won like they did? Because Gary Payton ain't no punk. Gary Payton ain't nobody's bitch. And when he was in his prime, there was not nobody that could play defense like Gary Payton, and he had no fear in the great Michael Jordan. All right, Roland, fact check me on that. Well, before you fact check me, you guys think that I'm crazy?
Of course I do. I always think you crazy. Nothing but crazy shit come out your mouth.
You guys don't think there's any truth there?
No, that wasn't rigged. I just think that George Karl was, slow to make that.
Oh, come on, 3 games slow, Joe. 3 games slow.
3 games slow. I mean, it was 3 games. It was 3 games.
All right, Roland.
All right, where should I start?
Wherever you feel like.
The true self sets you free.
No, well, let's start with the lie then. Right? That's easier. Let's start with the lie. Okay, the Gary Payton signing with Jordan Brand thing, I cannot confirm that. I believe that you're incorrect on that part. I do believe that there is a conspiracy here that the series was rigged. I believe that it was rigged because of George Karl's relationship with Michael Jordan as a North Carolinian alum. And I believe it was actually done unbeknownst to the NBA. Now, I'll accuse the NBA of a lot of things, but I actually think this was a private deal between George Karl and Michael Jordan. Here's the reason why. Number one, like CB said, the evidence is clear. First 3 games, he averaged 31 points, 46% from the field, 50% from 3, and he went to the line 12.3 times.
Woo.
In the last 3 games, 23.7 points a game, 36.7 from the field, and 11.1 from 3. And he only went to the free throw line 10 times on average.
Facts.
George Karl had said that he was not going to put Gary Payton through the rigors of having to guard Michael Jordan because of he had a calf injury. Mm-hmm. But and this is what's funny about conspiracies, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't be pulling this stuff out their ass. Like it is legitimately reported on a website that says everyone was totally shocked at that decision because he still played them 45 minutes a game. So how are you so-called resting his calf, or you don't want to put him through the rigors? Dude, this is the NBA Finals. Now, here's the reason why the decision to not play him, like Joe would say, oh, it was just a bad coaching decision, is because of leading up to the finals. Keep in mind that Gary Payton was, 28, 29 years old. Sean Kemp was about 27 years old. They had their best team ever. They were running stuff, but they couldn't get out of the second round. They have their breakout year. They win the most games in franchise history, 64, and it's their first in 27 years finals appearance. You got everything on the line, and you got your best defender not on the greatest. It's not like it was Michael Jordan's first or second championship where the Detroit Pistons was killing them and the Boston was killing them, and they just like, oh man, we'll just run our offense or run our defense. No, you put your best dude on him. You don't let that go for 3 games because he was torching them too. He was torching them.
Deadlift Shrimp, Hershey Hawkins. Kidding me?
So now when you look at this thing, now keep in mind the dominance of Chicago. I don't think people really take themselves back and remembers this, right? If not for him leaving the game for a year and a half, Houston wouldn't even have 2 titles. Their 2 titles came in them 2 years. We would not be putting Hakeem Olajuwon on the pedestal that we put him because he wouldn't have had a championship. They would have won 8 straight. And how I know is because you cannot tell me that NBA dominance isn't easy, because we've seen who's Mr. Finals, LeBron James. And they talk about all the time, whose window closed? Sonic's windows closed. Carl the Mailman's windows closed. Charles Barkley window closed. All because of Michael Jordan. And I'm telling you, I said it earlier on the show, or did I? Or did I say it in the private conversation with you, CB, where I said, if you really want to make it technical, no, I just said it on the show. Like, if LeBron doesn't have that heroic effort, we talking about 3 straight championships and probably a 4th by Golden State. I mean, this thing is easy. Mm-hmm. People talk about they don't like dominance. We love dominance. And then if you really do the research and you start going back throughout the years, you can see big banks of championships being won by one team, the Lakers. You know what I mean? The Lakers got like 8 years where their dominance was unparamount. They got 2. Because then you talk about the Shaq and Kobe era. Yeah. So I believe George Karl totally threw the game for his buddy. Because he's like, what's one championship going to mean to me? Because I can't win it next year. So he made it easier for him. So you're right, CB. They probably could have won anyway, but he sure as hell opened up the pearly gates for him. I know that.
And Joe, let me just leave you with this. I hope you hear us too. Let me leave you guys with this. Here's who guarded Jordan: Hershey Hawkins, David Wingate, and from Proviso East, Sherrell Ford. I don't know if you guys remember that name, Sherrell Ford. These are the guys that guarded Michael Jordan instead of Gary Payton. So let's put that in your pipe and smoke it. Great research, Roland. You guys got anything on that thing, Joe? To step away for a second.
Oh, hold on. Let me go. Let me really put some sauce on this thing.
Okay.
When the Sonics had they had went out, they in those early exits where they couldn't get out of the second round. Mm-hmm. Guess what they're known for in their history books. Guess what they're known for?
Getting swept by the Nuggets. Is that what you're talking about? They're not getting swept, but they lost. They lost, yeah.
But what did they look? What was the Nuggets at the time?
The 8th seed.
The 8th seed. So he also got that on his resume. And here that was the whipped cream. Here's the cherry.
Mm-hmm.
George, you know the book that George Karl just wrote, right? Right. Calling out Carmelo and stuff.
Yeah.
A little fact goes unnoticed in that book. In 1994, George Karl said that Michael Jordan actually approved the trade for Scottie Pippen to the Sonics for Sean Kemp. I'm done.
Whoa.
Drop the mic, walk off stage.
I heard different.
Whoa.
That's in his book. How you read? I just read it.
I heard different from another close source.
What did they say?
They said that Michael didn't want that trade, that he was talking about quitting, and they didn't even talk to Mike about doing it. What's his name? Jerry Ransdorf. Ransdorf, Jerry Krause, the GM, was trying to keep it secret and not tell nobody. But what happened was the dude that's on ESPN radio out here, one of the reporters that's always talking this shit, had made a mistake and let it slip out because he got that from somebody else over in the Sonics organization. Mm-hmm. And once it came out, dude reneged the trade. The Supersonics GM came back off of it. He said he didn't want to do it then. Yeah. Because it was out there and they didn't want it out there because Jerry Krause was always such like a
slime ball.
Yeah, slime ball. He always wanted to keep things on the low so that nobody know what he was doing.
Yeah, I don't see what the Sonics would have got with just getting Scottie Pippen. Like, I mean,
no, there was some other players involved. I just don't know what they are.
Oh, okay. Hey,
right, I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Joe. I
was just about to say, Scottie was Mike guy. No matter, I mean, they really didn't hang out much from what I heard off the court. But he didn't want nobody else on the scene but him. That's why when they was trying to get Tracy McGrady, Mike again said, "Look, y'all go get him. I'm leaving."
They tried to. Oh wow.
He's gonna trade Scottie for Tracy McGrady.
Jeez.
Well, if you look at it, if you look at the way this is framed, though, Joe, is that remember it was at 94 is when he retired.
Oh, right.
So here's the hit. If you want to stick to that story, then you would have to go with my other conspiracy theory that he was serving a suspension and he knew he was coming back. So to me, those would have to go line in line. So if we get out of the conspiracy realm, all I'm saying is that the article that I'm reading is quoting the book is saying through George Karl, which you would have to call George Karl a liar, is that in 94, he is saying that not only did Michael Jordan know about the trade, he actually endorsed it. He wouldn't have no control because he's retired. Why would him being mad affect what Jerry Krause or Jerry Reinsdorf is going to do?
Let's go back in the day. With Inside the Cave.
I got something good.
All right, let's get into it.
It's probably going to piss everybody off.
All right, good. We need that.
Well, you get more and more like CB.
I wanted to talk about critical thinking. Now, let's talk about facts and let's talk about perception. So what I want the listeners to do is question your reality. So if you didn't know what you know, how would you know it? Somebody had to tell it to you. So how do we perceive the things around us, right? So this is, now I'm not myself one, I'm just a guy who likes to think outside the box, but are we living on a globe or are we living on a flat surface?
Oh, God.
That's the question of the day.
It's an easy way to answer that. Run your ass to the end of the earth. See if you fall off.
Oh, come on, Roland.
Roland. That's actually pretty good because I just had this conversation last night. So that's a pretty good question.
Well, see, here's the thing, Mr. Hurd. What gets me is I always pose the question, how do you know that you live on a globe? You were taught it in school, but everything that your eyes showed you and everything that's logical pretty much goes against it. You have to use science that can't be proven to really dictate that you live on a globe. So if we're spinning so fast, however many miles per hour it is, blah, 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 why don't we fly off? Oh, because of gravity. Well, what's gravity? Oh, because the things that fall and this, that, and the third and all this other, science mumbo jumbo. Okay, well, then how do you explain planes? Well, because the atmosphere is spinning with the earth, it just makes you wonder. That's all. So all I'm saying is question your reality, question the things that's around you. Don't allow people to just dictate, and you shouldn't be considered crazy if you want to question that. Why is it called sea level? How come when we look out, everything looks flat? Oh, because the curvature of the earth is so big, you can't detect it. Well, per the science, they say the curvature can be detected by so many miles, and if you are so high, you can see the curvature.
You know, Roland. I'm a big fan of this segment. I actually like it. But have you ever been in a plane, brother?
Yeah, but the windows are curved.
Oh God, hey man,
Hey, CB, listen. I don't agree with Roland a lot, but you gotta listen to this. Show me one picture of the Earth that's not edited or doctored. You don't have one.
How do you know it's edited or doctored?
Because they told
From space, you've never seen a picture of the Earth that's not edited or doctored.
Well, Richard Branson will be launching people into space, so Roland could do a couples retreat.
I tell you what, my ass ain't going on no ship.
Come on, I will evidence. Take that iPhone up to space and take some pics.
Well, here's the thing.
We ain't coming back.
And listen. Back here's one of my favorite questions I pose to people. Right? I say, okay, so back in 1969, I think it was 1968 to 1973, there was 12 lunar missions to the moon. Right? So way back then, with the technology that they had, they was able to reach the moon, supposedly, right? So it's been, my math's not that good, but it's at least been 40 years, right? So why is it not that we've been back? We have better technology now, but based on the technology, we should have houses up there by now, right? So that makes you question, did we ever go? So the pictures that they took of the Earth were found out to be doctored. When they said they were halfway to the moon, they were just in upper Earth's atmosphere when they took that picture. They used a piece of cardboard and they turned the inside light out, and they were trying to say, oh, we're halfway to the moon. But it's been proven with old NASA tapes that they wasn't. So if that's in question, and we've never been, what else are they hiding? And like I said, I'm not trying to be a big conspiracy guy, trying to say, oh, well, the government knows something that we don't know. All I'm saying is that there's a possibility that they are hiding things because maybe they don't know. And that's also all science. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
To go even further, they say if you look at the NATO symbol, that's actually the way that the Earth is actually set up.
If you look at what, I didn't catch that part. I'm sorry.
If you look at NATO symbol.
Oh, right, yep.
NATO symbol. That's actually the way that the Earth is.
Right.
I'm just saying that's what they say.
And to answer Sad's question, the reason why you don't fall off is because everything still works the way a globe works, right? But it's laid out flat, and the South Pole is really the outer rim, and the outer ice shelf keeps everything in. That's why there's a world treaty that no one can explore Antarctica.
The North Pole. Yeah.
Well, no, it's actually would be considered the South Pole. You can't.
That South Pole starts.
Yeah, you can't do. So that's the outer shell. So, and also, like I said, I'm not trying to prove the point because, like I said, I'm not a flat earther, air quotes. I'm just saying that our listeners shouldn't always go with what we think the truth is. Just like the whole 9/11 report left out Building 7 falling. So if you read the report, you believe it, you say, oh, well, this is the way it happens. But if that's the way it happened, why did they exclude what happened to Building 7? So that's all I'm saying. If the Earth is flat, if the Earth is round, then why can't they prove it to us? Why can't we fly so high, turn around and take a picture of it? Why do we have to alter the picture or get so-called satellite composites of the Earth? There is no picture of the Earth that's not a composite. None. Zero. And that's the Cleeze Report.
Good shit, Roland. Hey, you out of the Twilight Zone yet?
Hey, Lamar, what do you think about that, Lamar?
I'm not touching that. That's above my pay grade. I know one thing. If all this shit is true, Tupac and Jimmy Hoffa can't wait to listen to this episode.
Hey,
I agree with everything in question.
Did you guys hear that what Putin said about 9/11 though? No. He actually said America doesn't want him to release what really happened on 9/11 because they satellites actually have footage of what actually happened on 9/11. So that was a threat that he sent back to the United States when the United States was trying to accuse him of all this stuff. So it's
okay, hold on. Time the hell out. you in the wrong damn segment. Your segment just was on. All right, now just because he came up with that gem right there, now I got to say something else. Because he can't trump me on my segment. Hold on, time out.
I'm just telling you, man. I gotta read everything.
Good stuff. Hey, how about the Pentagon? No plane hit the Pentagon.
So what? Never found a plane. Never found a piece of a plane.
Nope, can't find one piece of a plane that hit the Pentagon, bro.
I'm gonna go even further on you because all my family lives in DC and all my family works in the government. Did you know that the FBI took off video footage from every hotel, every business around that area after 9/11 happened?
Absolutely, even the ones at the Pentagon. All you see is that one parking lot shot of something hitting, but it sure as hell wasn't a 747.
Well, that was the Cleeze Report. I guess we
niggas gonna be sleeping with one eye open tonight.
And next time on the Cleeze Report, we're gonna find out about Bigfoot.
Oh God!
Jesus Christ! All right, we'll be right back with more Inside the Cave.
Big Dog's Country Rap Tune of the Week. Big Dog's Country Rap Tune of the Week.
It's your boy Big Dog, and I'm going inside the cave on the Cave Podcast with Big Dog's Country Rap Tune of the Week.
The Southern baby Big Dog is turning up. Inside the Cave. Thank you for listening to Inside the Cave. Get the latest Cave Crush and Inside the Cave gear at cavecrushshop.com. Thought-provoking ignorance with special guests and Cave Crusher. Inside the Cave. Inside the Cave.
Inside the Cave.
You did say you wanted to be in, right?